الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد. In our previous classes, we were studying in our seminar the work of Sheikh Abdus-Salam ibn Burgess rahimahullah ta'ala, awaiq al-talib أو الأوائق في طالب العلم. awaiq al-talib, the obstacles in seeking knowledge. We had covered up to the sixth obstacle. Looking at that which remains, we find that we have al-aiq al-sabi', hastening the fruit, istijal al-thamar, hastening the fruit. And then likewise we have al-aiq al-thaman, the eighth obstacle, which is the nu'ul himma, having low ambition and desire and concern and care for studying and seeking knowledge. And then he mentioned rahimahullah the ninth and the 10th together, which is at-taswifu wat-tamanni. At-taswifu wat-tamanni, to procrastinate and to have false hopes. So inshallah we continue and complete that which we have started from our seminar, seeking the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And bi-idhnillahi ta'ala we complete this work tonight and tomorrow night, and then Saturday after Fajr. We complete the work in 3 classes back to back, inshallah. This obstacle here tonight, and the 8th obstacle tomorrow night bi-idhnillahi ta'ala, and Saturday morning after Fajr we complete that which remains, inshallah ta'ala. So the author, he says, al-aiq al-sabi' istijal al-thamar, the 7th obstacle, hastening the fruit. We have seen that from characteristics of a student of knowledge is that he will adorn himself with these lofty traits of as-sabr wal-hilm wal-rifqa wal-anat, and that these traits, they are patience and forbearance, and likewise being gentle and not being hasty. So here the issue is about being hasty. Isti'jal al-thamar, hastening the fruit. And being hasty and not being patient. Being hasty and trying to reach the aim and the goal before the proper time. The people of knowledge have spoken about this in a number of different topics and different issues, and different phrases, different expressions, different manners. And this is from some aspects relating to that which has preceded, being self-amazed until a person, he will think that he has reached a level that he has not truly reached yet. And he will try to step up to a field or an arena in knowledge that he's not qualified for. So this is all from hastening the fruit, being self-amazed and being deceived by one's actions or by one's understanding. And also the love to have authority and the love to have leadership. All of this can be reasons for a person to hasten the fruit. Also ignorance of the true reality of his own status and rank. We have seen a number of statements from the people of knowledge about this. Rahimallahu abdan arafa qadra nafsihi. May Allah have mercy on a person who knows his own level. And we have seen likewise the people of knowledge, they mention man hurrima al-usul, hurrima al-wusul. Whoever is forbidden from the fundamentals and learning properly and correctly, then he will be prohibited from reaching his goal and his aim. Likewise, in the same aspect, the people of knowledge, they mention about so and so, a person who hastens the fruit. In this manner, they say fulanun tazabbaba qabla an yatahasram. فلان تزبب قبل أن يتحصرم, كان زبيبا قبل أن يكون محصرما. The meaning of it, zabib, is he became a zabib before he was even a grape, meaning that he hastened the fruit. Exactly, this is the meaning. The grape in the beginning, it will be hard and it will be sour, but if you leave it for some time, it will become sweet and turn into a raisin. So they say تزبب قبل أن يتحصرم, that he turned into a zabib, into a raisin, before he even was going through this stage. So this is all an indication of a person hastening. Likewise, they mentioned about the same aspect here in a manner of warning. They said, حب الظهور يقسم الظهور. حب الظهور يقسم الظهور. The person, he loves to be seen, he loves to be made known, he loves to be famous, he loves to be in the front, and this breaks the backs. This issue, this love here in the heart breaks the backs. And we have seen the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he mentioned أخوف ما أخاف عليكم أخوف ما أخاف عليكم الرياء والشهوة الخفية الشهوة الخفية. And all of this that has preceded is related to this affair here. Hastening the fruit. So a believer, a student of knowledge, he will not hasten the fruit. So there's a difference between al-ajala wal-isra'. Al-ajala wal-isra'. Al-ajala is to be hasty. It is to be hasty and to hasten something, and to rush in hastiness before its proper time and before the qualification has come and seeking knowledge. So al-ajala is blameworthy. Being hasty in this manner, hastening things before their proper time, this is a trial, and this is blameworthy in general and specifically in seeking knowledge. And the path of knowledge is not short, it's long. And the path of knowledge is not short, it's long. This is something that is well known. It's a very long path. Rather, it's a lifetime. That this path is a path that one he will traverse in his whole life. In his whole life. And in ajala fi talab al-ilm, this is madhmuma. This is blameworthy. To be hasty in seeking knowledge, hasty trying to reach a stage and a level quicker than one, and he is capable, and he trying to jump stages and to become someone who he is not in knowledge, and to proceed his qualifications and the likes like this is blameworthy, no doubt. As for al-isra' fi talab al-ilm, this is praiseworthy, and this is whenever a person he would exert all the effort that he has and sacrifice his time and wealth in the manner to move down the path of seeking knowledge in the best way, hastening for the good and competition for the good. So there's a difference in this manner. Someone who will strive his utmost and be sincere and truthful and give all of his effort that he can in order to learn and to gain knowledge, then this person, he will move down the path much quicker than someone who is lazy, or someone who is negligent, or someone who did not have high ambitions and concern for knowledge. So in this manner, this is good, in order to hasten. وَسَارِعُوا إِلَى مَغْفِرَةٍ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ, that we should hasten to the forgiveness of your Lord and to paradise. So there's a difference between the two. What is blameworthy here and what is the obstacle in seeking knowledge is al-ajala, isti'jal al-thamara, hastening the fruit. It's been narrated from Mujahid rahimahullah, from the Tabi'in. He mentioned that he said, لا يتعلم مستكبر ولا مستحيٍ, that the one who is arrogant, he will not learn, nor the one who is shy. Some of the people of knowledge have added to this a third individual, and they said, ولا العجول, the person who's hasty. He will not truly be able to learn. The one who is arrogant, his arrogance and pride will prohibit him from learning and sitting at the feet of the people of knowledge and humbling himself, and it will stop him. Likewise, the one who is too shy to confess to others as well that they have more knowledge than him, and he will not ask, or he will not also sit at the feet of the people of knowledge out of shyness or shame that the people will think bad about him and the likes like this. And also the one who's hasty, because the one who is hasty, he's either going to try to hasten the affair before the time, and he will not be able to bear that, and he'll become bored with knowledge and tired, and he will leave it entirely, or he will just jump stages and find himself in situations that he's not able to bear nor to handle, and he'll bring much trials and fitan, and he will not truly be able to obtain the knowledge in a proper manner. He will not truly be able to obtain knowledge in a proper manner. You'll find him skipping stages. And then instead of spending all this time learning properly and building foundations, he will put himself in a position that is higher than he's qualified for. And then also along with this comes the issue that has preceded of bucking heads. The one who's going to have the status and rank, he's going to start bumping heads with other people on that path. And all of this preoccupies him and distracts him and turns him away from learning properly and having a strong foundation. So you'll find people who are involved in the likes of these affairs, and for years involved in the likes of this, competing for leadership and authority, and competing for rank and the likes like this, and never truly learning. And then, alhamdulillah, individuals in that whole time, they're bucking heads and going through these trials and tribulations. They themselves were not tried with that by the grace of Allah, and they spend their time learning and benefiting. Then this fruit will be seen. But it's after some time. but it's after some time. So this is a great distraction, a great obstacle in seeking knowledge, that a person, he will try to reach a level that he's not before his time. And a lot of this, barakallah fikum, it goes back to that which has proceeded from al-ujbu wal-ghurur wal-hubbu dhuhur, from being self-amazed and being deceived by one's actions and loving to have authority and loving to be known and wanting position. May Allah protect us from that. The author, he says, rahimahullah, يظن بعض الطلبة أن العلم لقمة سائغة أو جرعة عذبة سرعان ما تظهر نتائجها وتتبين فوائدها. Some of the students of knowledge think that knowledge is like an easy morsel of meat or a pleasant gulp of fresh water, thinking the results will be seen quickly and its benefits can be clearly known. And some of the students of knowledge, they think that it's like this, it's easy, that knowledge is something you can just take it and take a bite of it and swallow it like a date that's sweet and moist and delicious, and you just eat it and reap the benefits right away. It's not like that. Or somebody can just take a drink of water and enjoy the fruits and the benefits of that cold water on his chest and in his liver and the likes like this immediately. This is not the case with knowledge. So the author, rahimahullah, is indicating here that this is the wrong understanding. Some of the students of knowledge, they think this, but we should not think that, because this is an obstacle. He says, فَيُؤَمِّرُ فِي قَرَارَةِ نَفْسِهِ أَنَّهُ بعد مضي سنة أو أكثر أو أقل من عمره في الطلب سيصبح عالما جهبذا لا يدرك شأنه ولا يشق غباره. Deep in his soul, this individual here, this new student, or this student has been deceived with this idea here, and this obstacle has affected his heart. He says, deep in his soul, he hopes that after a year or more or less from his life in seeking knowledge, he will become a profound scholar, and that no one can reach his level or status. And after a year or two or more or less, he thinks in his heart that he's going to have this high and lofty rank, where he will be the leader, and the people will return to him, and the people will ask him, and he will be the one directing and giving orders, and he will be the one who is directing and giving orders. So the author, he's telling us, rahimahullah, that this is not the case, and this is not proper, and this is the wrong understanding. So he says, rahimahullah, وَهَذِهِ نَظْرَةٌ خَاطِئَةٌ وَتَصَوُّرٌ فَاسِدٌ وأمل كاسد أضراره وخيمة ومفاسده عظيمة إذ يفضي بصاحبه إلى ما لا تحمد عقباه من القول على الله بغير علم. Those dots should be erased. من القول على الله بغير علم والثقة العمياء بالنفس وحب العلو والتصدر وينتهي مطافه بين هذه الأشياء إلى حجر الانتساب للعلم وأهله. The author, he says, rahimahullah, this is the wrong view, corrupt assumption, and false hopes with detrimental harms and great corruption, because it will lead a person to an outcome that is not praiseworthy. For example, he says, from speaking about Allah without knowledge, and he's hastening the fruit. So he wants to have a level and status that he does not deserve, or that he's not qualified for, and he will be afraid that that level will be challenged, or that his status in the eyes of the people will fall. So therefore he will answer everything that comes to him, or speak about everything, attempting to clarify or make it apparent that he knows, whenever in reality he does not know. So he'll begin to speak about Allah without knowledge, to maintain his false status. He says, having blind trust in oneself and loving status to be in the front, his efforts will end up with these affairs, that he will abandon the ascription to knowledge and its people. And many times this is the case. A person, he will traverse upon this way until he realizes that in reality it didn't work. And if they say everything that goes up must come down. So this person, maybe he will in the end wind up leaving knowledge entirely and become from the fusaq and the likes like this, or from those who are involved in gambling, or those who are involved in drugs, or those who are involved in other lewd actions. But and he become completely turned away from knowledge and lost in the sins and the lusts of this worldly life. And he overcome by the desires, because he will not be able to benefit. So he says, وَلَقَدْ أَصَابَ الْمَأْمُونَ عندما قال متحكما بهذا الضرب من الطلبة يطلب الحديث 3 أيام ثم يقول أنا من أهل الحديث. He says that indeed Al-Ma'mun was correct, rahimahullah, whenever he said sarcastically about these types of students. He seeks to learn Al-Hadith, and he seeks the knowledge of Al-Hadith for 3 days, and then he says, I'm from the people of Hadith. And then he says, I'm from the people of Al-Hadith. And he considers himself from them after a day or two in seeking knowledge. This is all from hastening the fruit. He has not reached that level yet. He's not qualified for this description in this manner in this brief and short period. Rather, this is a high and lofty status to be considered from Ahl al-Hadith, Hamalat as-Sunnah, those who are truly carrying the narrations of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and conveying the deen of Allah. So he says, rahimahullah, وَالنَّاظِرُ إِلَى حَالِ السَّلَفِ يَرَى عَاجِبًا مِنْ صَبْرِهِمْ عَلَى مَرَارَةِ التَّحْصِيلِ وَطُولِ الْجَادَةِ ولا يفترون ولا يتقاعسون ولا يستكبرون شعارهم العلم من المهد إلى اللحد العلم من المحبرة إلى المقبرة. So the author, he says, the one who investigates and the one who looks deeply into the condition of the Salaf will see something amazing, and he will see an amazing affair from their patience upon the bitterness of obtaining knowledge. And seeking knowledge, there's bitterness. And there's sometimes no doubt it's sweet, but other times it's hard and difficult. It's difficult to memorize the knowledge and to review the knowledge and to obtain the knowledge and to seek the knowledge and to travel to meet the people of knowledge and to leave the homeland and the family and to also go through hardships and poverty, give one's last dollar to buy a book or the likes like this, and then go hungry for a day or two until he gets some more funds in order to purchase his needs. And all of this is hard and difficult. Sometimes, no doubt, he tastes the sweetness of that, but also he will face hardship and challenges in seeking knowledge. So one who looks into the biographies of the Salaf, he'll find amazing affairs on how they were patient upon this way, upon the bitterness of obtaining knowledge, the long path. Yet they do not slow down, nor are they negligent. And they would face those challenges and those hardships, and the length of the path. And they would not slow down, nor were they negligent. They did not become arrogant. Rather, their slogan is that knowledge is from the cradle to the grave. They did not become arrogant. What is intended here, they did not become arrogant, hastening the fruit, thinking that they reached the level where they don't have to seek knowledge anymore. Thinking about themselves that they reached the level that they don't have to seek knowledge anymore. Rather, they will continue, as the slogan says here, that knowledge is from the cradle to the grave. So regardless of the status that they reach, the high rank that they obtain in knowledge, even if the people are pointing at them with their fingertips, يُشَارُ إِلَيْهِمْ بِالْبَنَانِ, they know themselves and they know their soul, and they know their weaknesses and they know the reality of this life and the standing before Allah Azza wa Jal and the accountability in front of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. So therefore they strive and they continue on that path, and they're not deceived by themselves or what the people say or think about them. Rather, they continue to seek knowledge. And likewise, they will continue teaching and spreading knowledge as well. But they will continue to consider themselves as a student of knowledge, and they will not reach a level where they think that, they think that I don't have to seek knowledge no more. I don't have to review knowledge no more. I don't have to sit in the gatherings with knowledge no more. I don't have to go over the knowledge with the students no more. I'm a sheikh now. They will not say the likes of these words. I'm a sheikh now. I've reached the goal. They will not. They do not think like this. They did not think like this. Rahimahumullah. They say knowledge is from the cradle to the grave. Knowledge is from the ink holder to the graveyard. And meaning that I'm going to seek knowledge until I die. I'm going to seek knowledge until I die. It's been mentioned about Al-Tabari, rahimahullah, Ibn Jarir, that he is taking notes and writing down a benefit in his notebook on his deathbed. And it's likewise been mentioned in this day about Imam As-Sa'di in recent history, about Imam As-Sa'di rahimahullah ta'ala, that he's writing and taking notes and authoring works up until his death, rahimahullah ta'ala. He's traveling to get treatment for diseases and the likes like this, and even in that state he's writing great works that we still benefit from today. And likewise Shaykh Uthaymeen rahimahullah ta'ala, it's mentioned the same things about him continuing to teach and to be engaged in knowledge and reviewing knowledge until death, until the grave. Allahu Akbar. So this is something that they continued upon on their path, and this is from the means that they reached that high status and rank, because they were truthful with Allah and they realized the favor and bounty of Allah upon them in seeking knowledge and learning knowledge and carrying knowledge. So the author, he says, قال الإمام ابن المديني قيل للشعبي, Al-Imam Ibn al-Madini, his name is Ali ibn al-Madini. Also, he's from the greatest scholars of hadith. He died in the year 234. Qila li-Sha'bi. Al-Sha'bi, he's preceded. He died in the year 109. من أين لك هذا العلم كله؟ من أين لك هذا العلم كله؟ قال للنفي الاعتماد والسير في البلاد والصبر كصبر الجماد وبكور كبكور الغراب. He says that Imam Ibn al-Madini, he said, it was said to Ash-Sha'bi. Ash-Sha'bi, we have seen him before. In his time, he was the man. In his time and his land, he was the place of return. And he was from the one that we had mentioned previously, that Muhammad ibn Sirin, rahimahullah, said about him that whenever he came to him in Al-Kufa, that he had a great circle of knowledge with many students, a great vast circle of knowledge, while many of the companions were still alive and present. Rahimahullah ta'ala. So it's mentioned about him. How did you obtain all this knowledge? How did you obtain all this knowledge? He said, not relying, nafi al-i'timad. Nafi al-i'timad, not relying on anybody else. Nobody's going to seek knowledge for you. Nobody is going to memorize the Quran for you. Nobody is going to memorize the 40 hadith for you. Nobody is going to make this effort for you. Nobody is going to be able to do this for you. You don't rely upon other people. Some people, they're like this. If so-and-so seeks knowledge, I seek knowledge. If he doesn't seek knowledge, I don't seek knowledge. And like this, he's with his friends. Even he can go back to that narration from Ma'mar ibn Rashid, rahimahullah, whenever he said, طَلَبْنَا الْإِلْمَ وَلَيْسَ لَنَا فِيهِ نِيَّةٌ. And we sought knowledge in the beginning and we didn't have an intention. And maybe he's just hanging out with his friends. He happened to be in the company with students of knowledge, and now he's running with them, seeking knowledge. So if they go out to the dars, he goes out to the dars. But if they stay at home because they're lazy or they're distracted or something like that, then he will be lazy and distracted with them. So he says this is a great benefit. You don't rely on nobody else. You seek knowledge. You strive for your religion, for your deen, to please your Lord, to build your hereafter, to prepare for your meeting, your meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, not relying, nafi al-i'timad, not relying on anybody else, traversing through the lands, was-sayri fil bilad, and traversing through the lands, traveling. This is a methodology in seeking knowledge. Well, patience, like that of inanimate objects. And he says, was-sabr ka-sabri al-jamad, and being patient, like the patient of inanimate objects, like rocks, for example. Rocks, they don't move until somebody moves them. So they'll be patient likewise. Ibn Abdul Barr, rahimahullah, he mentioned that ينبغي لطالب العلم أن يكون له نعلين من الحديد، يعني أن تكون له نعلان من حديد. That is befitting for a student of knowledge that he should have two sandals from steel. He should have sandals from steel, and meaning that he will not leave the path, and meaning that he will be steadfast and be patient. And he will bear the hardships and the difficulties and face the challenge and taste the bitterness. Face the challenges and taste the bitterness of seeking knowledge, and the hardships and difficulties of seeking knowledge and facing poverty and feeling the pain of sitting in the lesson and going through the hardships. Some of the Salaf, they mentioned that they passed blood. Akramakumullah. They passed blood 2 or 3 times seeking knowledge. And he going through hardship. And he passed blood. And he urinating blood, akramakumullah, and seeking knowledge because they're traveling and going through great hardships and difficulties. Many times a person, he'll travel to a strange land, and then he will find in that land that the air is different, and that the food is different, and that the situation is different, and he will get sick and go through great hardships and difficulties. And in those lands with no family and no mother to take care of him or to feed him or to bring him any food and likes like this, and great hardships and difficulties that one he will face. But this is how they reached that status. This is how he got that knowledge. He buried the likes of these. He bared the likes of these difficulties and hardships, and he dealt with that for the sake of Allah until he became a Shabi, rahimahullah ta'ala, the great Imam from the Imams of the Sunnah. Traversing through the lands, patience like that of inanimate objects, and leaving out early like that of the crow. وَالْبُكُورُ كَبُكُورِ الْغُرَابِ, and going out early. These are all characteristics right here. A person, he will not rely on himself. He will rely on Allah, and he will not wait for nobody else to seek knowledge. This has likewise been narrated from Ibn Abbas and radiyallahu anhuma. It's mentioned that he said to one of the younger companions, likewise, let's go to this neighborhood from the Ansar and seek knowledge. And he's like, what do you think the people are going to need you? So the one who along with him did not seek knowledge. And Ibn Abbas and radiyallahu anhuma, he went out and sought knowledge. He went out and sought knowledge. And then whenever the companions, the elders from them, they're dying off, now all of them are returning to Ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhu, and his knowledge and his status and his virtue is well known. And later on, that individual, he's seen him and realized the mistake that he made. By falling back and falling behind and seeking knowledge and taking the advice of Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma. Similar like this been mentioned about Az-Zuhri as well. He told one of his companions, let's write these narrations. Let's go write these narrations. Let's take these narrations and write them down. And one of them he did not write, but Zuhri he wrote and collected them. And in the end, he was relied upon it from the first to be a means to spread the narrations through the land. Yani because of the efforts that he did collecting the narrations and writing them down. Rahimahullah ta'ala, striving to hear them and to learn them and to write them down and to collect them and to take them down in writing. So later on, his friend found the virtue of that, and then he realized his great mistake by falling back. So the point is, we don't rely on somebody else. This is our deen. This is our hereafter. This is our deen. This is our hereafter. Barakallah fikum. If somebody is not going to seek knowledge, then you leave him by himself and you go seek knowledge and you study and you learn. And you study and you learn. If there's other people that want to waste their time, then you leave them to waste their time, but you don't let them waste your time. Some of the Salaf, they would say that I met men كان أحدهما أشح بوقته من أحدنا بدرهمه. That I met individuals from the Salaf that they were more stingy. They were more stingy with their time than one of you is with his dirham, and he with his gold and silver. And he meaning that he's not stingy with money, but his time he's stingy. And he's not going to just let his time go and get wasted. He's not going to let anybody come and waste his time and use up his time for nothing. And the likes like this. And the people of knowledge, they mention about time, barakallahu fikum, أنه كالسيف, الوقت كالسيف. That the time is like a sword. إن لم تقطعه قطعك. If you don't cut the time and if you don't deal with time and benefit from your time, it will cut you. It will cut you. Yani, meaning that we're only breaths. And every day yani, is a day closer to that last breath. So we have a time appointed in this life. So we don't wait for other people. Let other people waste our time. Waste our time. Not a believer, especially not a student of knowledge. Traversing through the lands. He will not be afraid. He will traverse. He will travel to seek knowledge. This is something amazing. Patience like that of inanimate objects. And he's going to be patient. You must be patient and also be early. Also be early. Early in the morning and likewise early to the lesson and early to the benefit, taking advantage of the time. The author says, قال الإمام الشافعي رحمه الله لا يبلغ في هذا الشأن رجل حتى يضر به الفقر ويؤثره على كل شيء. He said, rahimahullah, that Al-Imam al-Shafi'i, rahimahullah, he said, a man, he will not reach a high status in this affair until he is harmed by poverty. And he prefers it over everything. And he prefers knowledge over everything. Until he's harmed by poverty. And he prefers knowledge over everything. Yani you have to dedicate yourself to learning literally. And the one who's sincere in this manner, Allah Azza wa Jalla will bless him and he will put in his heart a nahma. A person, he will be favored. And Allah will make the knowledge so delightful and so sweet and so beloved to him that he will have a fervent desire for it and a craving for it. He will never be able to leave it. He will never be able to leave it. He will dedicate his whole life to it and he will not have enough of it. He'll never get full. He'll never be satisfied. If he memorized a verse, he will never be satisfied until he memorized along with that the explanation of some of those words and the meaning of those words and then the interpretation of those words and then the narrations that clarify that ayat, so on and so forth, and then the statements of the Salaf with regards to that, and then the next verse after that, so on and so forth. He'll never become full. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam he said, "طالبان لا يشبعان." That there's two seekers of something that never become full, never become satisfied. طالب الدنيا وطالب العلم. The one who's seeking the worldly life and the one who's seeking knowledge. Those who are sincere in that, and that they're overcome by that, then this is the case. They will never become satisfied and never become full. The one who's truly seeking after the dunya, he will never be satisfied. And likewise, the one who's truly seeking after knowledge, he will never become satisfied. He will continue to seek. He will continue to seek. We have seen in previous seminars the example of Al-Bukhari rahimahullah, that he would wake up in one night. He'd wake up more than 10 times, sometimes more than 20 times in one night, lighting the candle, lighting the torch, and to write down a benefit. And he'll fall back asleep. And then he'll wake up again and grab the note, and in one night. And he's so dedicated. His mind, maybe he'll sleep and then he'll wake up. And then he will take notes and it will be on his mind and it likes like this. And he'll fall asleep and then he'll wake up again and he will write something down or write down a benefit, so on and so forth. He's completely dedicated. It's been narrated by Abu Yusuf Abu Yusuf, yani he's the sahib of Abi Hanifa, rahimahumullah. He died in the year 182. He says, العلم شيء لا يعطيك بعضه حتى تعطيه كلك. The knowledge is something that it will not give you some of it until you give it all of you. فأنت إذا أعطيته كلك من إعطائه البعض على غرر. And you, if you were to give knowledge all of it, if you were to give knowledge all of yourself and you dedicate all of your life to it entirely, you're still not guaranteed to get something from it. And this is the case with knowledge. If a person, if he wants to obtain knowledge, he will not be able to obtain some knowledge except by dedicating his entire life to this affair. His entire life to this affair. It's been narrated by Ibn Uyayna, rahimahullah ta'ala. He died in the year 198. He mentioned that he heard a Sha'bi, rahimahullah, he heard Shu'ba ibn al-Hajjaj. He died in the year 160, saying, "Man talab al-hadith, man talab al-hadith aflasa." That whoever seeks this knowledge of these narrations, whoever seeks the knowledge of these narrations, he will go bankrupt. He will go bankrupt, and he will spend his last penny in this affair. He will spend his last penny in this affair. He says, "Bi'tu tasta ummi li sab'ati dananir." He said, I sold the plate, the dish of my mother. I sold my mother's dish. I sold my mother's dish for 7 dinar. And he meaning to seek knowledge, meaning to travel or to seek knowledge or to purchase books or to fulfill his needs in the path of seeking knowledge. And he's selling his very last item in possession. Likewise, it's been narrated by Ibn al-Qasim al-Maliki, rahimahullah. He died in 191. And he's the one who narrated the most of the fiqh of Imam Malik. He says, rahimahullah, afla bi Malik ibn Anas talabul ilmi. بمالك بن أنس رحمه الله طلب العلم إلى أن نقض سقف بيته فباع خشبه. He said that seeking knowledge led Malik ibn Anas, Imam Malik rahimahullah ta'ala, seeking knowledge led him to tear down his home. Meaning that he took the portions of the wood from his roof and he sold them. He sold them in order to seek knowledge. And in order to seek knowledge, any wood that's in the roof over his head in his home, he would take them down little by little and sell them piece by piece in order to have money, provision for seeking knowledge. He said, ثُمَّ مَالَتْ عَلَيْهِ الدُّنْيَا بَعْدُ. He said, but after that, the whole dunya came to him later. And he sacrificed all this time and all this effort, all of this wealth that he had. And then in the end, he became from the greatest imams. And the dunya came to him, just like has preceded. مَنْ كَانَتْ الْآخِرَةُ هَمَّهُ جعل الله غناه في قلبه وجمع له شمله وتته الدنيا وهي راغمة. That whoever the hereafter, if whoever makes the hereafter his main concern, this is what will happen for him. The hereafter is his main concern, then he'll put contentment in his heart. Allah will put contentment in his heart, make him rich in his soul, and he will gather his affairs for him, and the dunya will come to him submissively. So the author, he says, rahimahullah, وقال ابن حمزة قال لي يعقوب بن سفيان قال لي يعقوب ابن سفيان الحافظ الإمام أقمت في الرحلة 30 سنة. Ibn Hamza, he said, al-Hafidh al-Imam, Yaqub ibn Sufyan, he said to me, I continued traveling for 30 years. Traveling, mainly to seek knowledge. I continued traveling to seek knowledge for 30 years. قال يحيى بن أبي كثير. Yahya ibn Abi Kathir, rahimahullah, he died in the year 132, likewise from the greatest of the scholars of hadith. He says, لا يستطاع العلم براحة الجسد. That no one is able to obtain knowledge with the relaxation of the body. Yahya ibn Abi Kathir, he said, it is not possible to obtain knowledge with relaxation of the body. Meaning that لا يتيسر ولا يسهل حصول العلم بالراحة والدعاء. A person, he's not going to be able to truly obtain knowledge, relaxing, hanging out, and having a good time, being relaxed, kicking back with his feet up, or laughing and joking and entertainment and the likes like this. This is not the way to obtain knowledge. That knowledge is not found in this manner. A person, he will not find knowledge by relaxing, by sleeping late in the morning, staying up at night on the video, on the phone, or on the internet, in a manner. This is not the way to obtain knowledge. Knowledge is only obtained by striving, fighting oneself and one's soul, and being dedicated in the daytime and the nighttime. He says, قال ابن الحداد المالكي ما للعلم وملائمة المضاجع. He says, Ibn al-Haddad, rahimahullah, al-Maliki, he says, Ibn al-Haddad al-Maliki rahimahullah, he said knowledge and the beds are not suitable, and they do not go together. And the one who's going to sleep all day long, or the likes like this, or sleep all the time, and he wasting his time, they don't come together. They don't come together. It's not possible for a person to be like this. It's not possible for a person, to be sleepy, to be lazy, to be heedless, to be relaxing and comfort all of the time. Knowledge does not come in this manner. Rather, it comes by sleeping little, and by striving hard, and by making great sacrifice, and showing preference to the hereafter. So the author, he says, rahimahullah, فَعَلَى طَالِبِ الْعِلْمِ أَنْ يَتَأَسَّى بِهَؤُلَاءِ الْأَئِمَّةِ وأن يحذو حذوهم حتى ينال مناه ويدرك بغيته، فإن منهجهم سليم وطريقهم قويم، وما حصل لهم ما حصل من ذكر حسن ونفع مستمر للمسلمين إلا بالصبر والمثابرة وازدراء كل ما يبذل من مال ووقت في سبيل العلم والمعرفة. وختاما أذكر محاورة بين اثنين تبين قيمة العلم ومكانته العالية، وأنه لا يحصل إلا لمن بذل فيه كل شيء، على حد قولهم أعطي للعلم كلك يعطيك بعضه. It is incumbent for the student of knowledge to follow these imams, these leaders, following their footsteps until he can obtain his goal and reach his purpose, because their methodology is sound and their path is upright. And they did not obtain the good mention and continuous benefit for the Muslims except by patience, perseverance, and considering insignificant everything they sacrifice from wealth and time in the path of knowledge and understanding. This is great benefit here. Great benefit here. It is incumbent for the student of knowledge to follow these imams and to follow these examples here, being dedicated to knowledge in this manner, and in the daytime and the nighttime, and striving hard for the sake of Allah, following their footsteps until he can obtain his goal and reach his purpose, because their methodology is sound and their path is upright, and they did not obtain the good mention, rahimahumullah, radiyallahu anhum. Like this, every time we say them, we say Sufyan ibn Uyayna, he died in the year 190, from the greatest imams of hadith. And whenever their names are mentioned, you can't just say his name. You have to say his name, and may Allah have mercy upon him, and he's from the greatest imams of the sunnah, and expressing how much you love him, rahimahullah ta'ala. And he died over thousands of years ago, because of the great benefit that he has left behind for the Muslims. And this is what he's referring to. They did not obtain the good mention and continuous benefit for the Muslims except by patience, perseverance, and considering insignificant. Patience and perseverance, this is not enough. Patience and perseverance, and then what? Considering insignificant everything they sacrifice from wealth and time in the path of knowledge and understanding. They're not amazed by themselves. Oh, I traveled here and I traveled there. Even if they say I traveled here and I traveled there, this is not bragging about themselves or praising themselves and the likes like this, but rather it's just to clarify the issue and the efforts that they had made, so that the people, they will understand that and likewise follow them in that. So they would consider their efforts insignificant, the money that they spend, the time that they spend, the effort that they spent, the hardship they went through, and the likes like this, it would be considered nothing. Rather, they're hoping that it will be accepted from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. قال رجل لآخر, a man, he said to another, بما أدركت العلم, how did you reach this knowledge? There's a portion here that's not translated, right? The author, he says, وختاما, this portion right here is not translated. وختاما, he said, in closing this obstacle, this portion here, he said, I mentioned for you a dialogue between two, and it will clarify the value of knowledge and its high and lofty status, and no one will obtain it except for the one who sacrifices everything, and he gives up his sacrifices and gives up all of his effort, and based upon their statement, you must give knowledge, all of you, and it will give you some of it. You give knowledge, all of you, and you give all of yourself, all of your life, all of your time, all of your money to knowledge, and it will give you some of it. So now he's going to mention this dialogue. He says, a man, he says to another, how did you reach this knowledge? And how did you obtain all this knowledge? قال طلبته فوجدته بعيد المراد لا يصاد بالسهام ولا يرى في المنام ولا يورث عن الآباء والأعمام. He said, I sought after it and I found it to be a far off goal. And I sought after this knowledge and I found out that it's far away. Somebody, for example, he starts seeking knowledge of the Quran. He starts seeking knowledge of the Quran. He wants to memorize the Quran. They'll tell him, for example, he already memorized the Fatiha. So then he'll start in the back. So the person who is new in this affair, he will say, well, the Quran is, in order to make it easy to memorize, it's been divided into 30 parts. So there's 30 parts. Start with the last 30th. With the last 30th. The last juz amma. Like this. And then he will say, this is 20 pages. So he's looking at that like it's a mountain in front of him. And when a person, whenever he first begins, especially if he accepted Islam and has no idea about memorizing anything in his life, and he's looking at this 20 pages, and he's maybe got the Kafirun, for example, and he thinks he memorized a lot, or he memorized Surah Al-Bayyinah, and he considered this to be a long chapter. And this is how it goes in the beginning. So he's considered this to be a long chapter, Surah Al-Bayyinah, because Bayyinah is long compared to Qul Huwallahu Ahad, compared to a lot of the surahs before it. The ones before it. So this is a far off goal. So he's looking at here, memorized 20 pages. Subhanallah. Then if you memorize Juz Amma, then you start looking at Juz Tabarak, and then after that, Qad Sami'a, and then maybe he even gets 5 Juz, and he's still looking, there's 15 left. You look at the whole front. It's a big, thick portion left, way more than half. So it's a far off goal, but it can be obtained for those who are sincere. It's far off. It seems far off, but it's close to those whom Allah makes it close for. And Allah will make it close for you if you're truthful and you're sincere. You follow their footsteps. Because the author clarified, their methodology is sound and their path is upright. Their methodology is sound and their path is upright. Their path is upright. So if you follow their footsteps, you will reach where they reached. You will reach where they reached. Bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. He said, I sought after and found it to be a far off goal. Not hunted by arrows. Not hunted by arrows. I mean, this is a type of game that you hunt after, but you can't hunt it with arrows. You can't just shoot an arrow and knock it out of the sky, or to hit it on its path and slow it down. This is not the way to get knowledge. Not seen in a dream, likewise. It's not something that you see in a dream. While you're sleeping, you wake up and all of a sudden it came down. And now you know. It's not obtained like this, nor is it inherited from the fathers and the uncles. It's not inherited from the fathers and the uncles. Even if his father was a great scholar, from the best of the imams, if his son does not strive to learn, he will not learn. The Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّمَا الْعِلْمُ بِالتَّعَلُّمِ. The knowledge is only by way of learning. So it's not inherited. It's not something that's inherited like this, that he just gets it in his inheritance and all of a sudden he has knowledge. Rather, it's something that he must strive for. So he says, فَتَوَسَّلْتُ إِلَيْهِ بِافْتِرَاشِ الْمُدَارِ. المدار واستناد الحجر وإدمان السهر وكثرة النظر وإعمال الفكر ومتابعة السفر وركوب الخطر فوجدته شيئا لا يصلح إلا الغرس ولا يغرس إلا في النفس ولا يسقى إلا بالدرس. That should be erased here too. So he says, so I reached it. He says, so I reached it by spreading the earth, meaning sleeping on the ground and reclining on stones, constantly staying up late and reading abundantly, using the mind to ponder and facing the hardship of traveling and exposure to dangers. I found that it is something not proper except in planting, and it is not planted except in the soul, and it is not watered and cultivated except by the lesson, and even except by attending the classes. And his statement here continues. The author, he mentioned the dialogue, rahimahullah. He says, a man, he said to another, how did you obtain all this knowledge? How did you reach all this knowledge and this lofty status and benefit in this manner? He said, I sought after it. طلبته فوجدته بعيد المراد. لا يصاد بالسهام ولا يرى في المنام ولا يورث عن الآباء والأعمام. He said, I sought after it and I found it to be a far-off goal, not hunted by arrows, not seen in a dream, nor is it inherited from the fathers and uncles. فتوسلت إليه بافتراش المدار واستنال الحجر وإدمان السهر وكثرة النظر وإعمال الفكر ومتابعة السهر وركوب الخطر فوجدته شيئا لا يصلح إلا للغرس ولا يغرس إلا في النفس ولا يسقى إلا بالدرس. So I reached it by spreading the earth, meaning sleeping on the ground, and reclining on stones, and he relaxing and going through this hardship and traveling and journeys and the likes like this, difficulty, poverty, constantly staying up late and reading abundantly, using the mind to ponder, any reflection and thinking deeply over the knowledge and facing the hardships of traveling and exposure to dangers. and exposure to dangers. I found that it is something not proper except in planting. And a ghars is literally to plant a crop in the ground, a seed in the ground, and to cultivate it. And it is not planted except in the soul. The knowledge is something that is like this. It has to be cultivated. It has to be planted in the heart and raised and cultivated. And this is only in the soul, and it is not watered and cultivated and nourished except by bid-dars, except bid-dars, and by the lesson, by sitting in the classes and sitting in the lessons with the people of knowledge. Allahu Akbar. He says, أرأيت من يشغل نهاره بالجمع وليله بالجماع هل يخرج من ذلك فقيها كلا والله. He said, do you see the one who was preoccupied in the daytime with gathering wealth and in the nighttime with sexual intercourse, would he become a scholar of jurisprudence? He said, never, by Allah. And all day long, he's going through the business, trying to count his money, make money, trying to flip a dollar, and the likes like this. All day long, he's going through the markets and taking care of business and making calls and trying to double his money, so on and so forth. And then in the nighttime, he's spending it in this manner, like this. Is he going to, in the end, become a faqih, a scholar of jurisprudence, with a high lofty status and knowledge? It doesn't happen in this manner. It doesn't happen in this manner. He says, العلم لا يحصل إلا لمن اعتضد الدفاتير وحمل المحابر وقطع القفار والقفار وواصل في الطلب الليل والنهار. He said, knowledge is not obtained except by the one who seeks help from the notebooks, carries the ink holders, cuts the distances and travels, and continues to seek knowledge all day and all night. All day and all night. He says, وَلَعَلَ فِي هَذِهِ الْمُحَدِث, and that's the end of the statement, of the hiwar, of the dialogue. So the author, he says, rahimahullah, وَلَعَلَ فِي هَذِهِ الْمُحَاوَرَةِ الظَّرِيفَةِ ما يزيل الصورة المترسبة في أذهان بعض الطلبة من أن العلم ينال في مدة وجيزة وفترة قصيرة. Perhaps through this elegant dialogue, that which remains from the image left in the minds of some of the students will be removed. And possibly now, after reviewing this affair, that foul image or misunderstanding in the mind, that knowledge can be obtained in a brief period or short time, this will be removed and will go away. So he says, فَلِيُوَاصِلُوا جُهُودَهُمْ وَيَحْتَقِرُوا مَبْذُولَهُم فِي طَرِيقِ الْعِلْمِ وَالتَّعَلُّمِ حتى يفتح الله عليهم أبواب المعرفة والعلم ليصبحوا قادة في العلم أئمة في الهدى. So they should continue striving and belittle their efforts in the path of knowledge and learning until Allah opens for them the gateways of understanding and knowledge, and they become leaders in knowledge and imams of guidance. The people of knowledge, they mention, I used to hear from our Sheikh Abdul Muhsin all the time, حفظه الله, لولا المشقة لساد الناس كلهم. لولا المشقة لساد الناس كلهم. Had it not been for hardship and difficulty, all of the people, they would have been leaders. All of the people will be leaders and in the forefront and having high lofty ranks. But not everyone is a leader nor in the forefront. And not everyone has a high lofty rank and status. And this is because of the hardship that it takes to get there, as we have seen here. You need to have a siyada, you need to have leadership and authority and knowledge truthfully, and to be sincere in that. This is a high and lofty rank and level, and it's not obtained by sleeping all day and then wasting time and going through the WhatsApp and the Facebook and the chats and debating. It's not also obtained by arguing and quarreling with the people, even about issues of knowledge, and debating and going back and forth, wasting time. This is not the way to obtain knowledge, rather by dedicating oneself truthfully and by avoiding mixing with the people all the time, except whenever it's a necessity or when it's necessary or whenever the benefit is there for mixing. Rather, he will find much of his time by himself and alone, studying, or with the other students, either in the class or outside of the class. He'll prefer to be by himself, prefer to be with a book, prefer to be with the Quran, memorizing, or with the hadith, or with the mutun, or reviewing or researching, and the likes like this, or with one other person reviewing and studying knowledge, and the likes like this. He will not want to be with the people or in the markets or hanging out. Rather, these times and these places will bother him, and he will not want to go there all of the time, and the likes like this. Whether he will find time for that because it's a necessity, but he will not waste his time. Rather, he will find happiness and contentment. He will find comfort and ease whenever he is alone seeking knowledge. Whenever he is alone seeking knowledge, the knowledge of Allah and the knowledge of the hereafter. It's been narrated by some of the Salaf, collected by Al-Khatib al-Baghdadi, and a narration that will clarify or emphasize this, although there is a bit of mubalagha. But some of the Salaf, they said, لا ينال هذا العلم إلا من أطر دكانه وخرب بستانه وهجر إخوانه ومات أقرب أهله ولم يشهد جنازته. He said, some of the Salaf, they said that no one will obtain this knowledge, truthfully, except for the one أطر دكانه, the one who his shop went out of business, and his garden or his farm was ruined and destroyed, and he turned away from his brothers and friends, and his nearest relative died, and he did not witness their funeral prayer. Meaning that he completely devoted himself entirely and left all of these worldly affairs. So maybe he had a business, but he used all of that in seeking knowledge. Or maybe he had a garden or a farm and the likes like this, but it went to waste because he didn't have time to take care of it. Or maybe he would avoid the gatherings and hanging out with the brothers all of the time. No doubt it's not allowed to truly make hajr and to boycott the brothers. Rather, there's time for the brothers, and likewise the family. All of these, they have their time and place. But this person here, what is intended is that they will truly dedicate their time and their life to seeking knowledge, and they will not be found. They'll not be found. They'll be busy. They'll be preoccupied. For whenever the people are partying or laughing or having fun or joking and the likes like this, they are engaged in knowledge, and they continue in this way. Likewise, this mention here that he did not witness the funeral, the knowledge that we learn will encourage us that we should witness the funeral prayer, especially if it's a family. So again, the point is to clarify the distance that one he must go, that he cannot play, he cannot waste time, he cannot be haphazard, he cannot be hasty, he cannot be weak. Rather, the knowledge requires for a person to be strong, and for a person to be determined, for a person to be patient, for a person to be sincere and to be truthful, and likewise to have rifq and to not be hasty and to not try to pounce on the knowledge, but rather little by little, day in and day out, ayah after ayah and hadith after hadith and masala after masala, until a person his feet are firm and knowledge by the permission of Allah, and he will have benefit with him for himself and likewise for the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. After this, the author, he mentions the 8th obstacle, which is dunu al-himma, to have low concerns, low ambition, low desires to seek knowledge. And this is something that no doubt is an obstacle in the path of seeking knowledge. The one, he must have strong desire, strong concern, strong ambition, strong determination to learn and to seek knowledge. And this himma, with this raghba, this azima, it can become weak, and there are means for it to become weak, and from that is to be around the weak, and to be around the lazy, and to be around the heedless, or to let oneself be overcome by the YouTube or by the Facebook or the likes like this. All of these are means to weaken his determination to seek knowledge. Rather, the true means to seek knowledge, as we have seen in these previous narrations, is that one, he must be determined, and that one, he must be firm, and that one, he must not be hasty, and he must not be reckless, but he must be dedicated. May Allah grant us all success. هذا وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.